So, the law of the pendulum. And we've somewhat seen this already in some classes when we look at duality, we look at good and evil, and here we're looking more at this law of the pendulum in terms of everything. It's a law that governs everything in our life. Anything that we can think of, the law of the pendulum is there. For example, we come to this class, we take an interest in Gnosis, and that's a certain pendulum. But at some point, that pendulum goes the other way, and we lose interest in Gnosis. And that happens with almost every aspect of life, not just Gnosis. School, anything we study, career, relationships, a book that we read, anything. So we'll look deeper. But first, it's good to ask this question. Good to ask this question before any time that we read a book, study anything, listen to something, listen to a lecture, attend a class, or even just listening to our friends and family or a stranger. We have to ask ourselves all the time, am I listening? And do I know how to listen? So some of you are listening to these words, but where are you psychologically? Are you perceiving, or are you going to perceive the true reality of everything that is spoke about in this lesson? Or are you going to visit your own internal places and the places of your own understanding? So, in terms of listening, we have to learn how to listen. In schools, we're always told to listen, but first, they don't teach children how to listen, how to know how to listen with our attention. So, as you may have gathered, in order to know how to listen, we have to awaken the consciousness. If our consciousness is sleeping, we can't listen. We are sleeping behind many filters. And we can awaken our consciousness here and now, not to the fullest degree. If we awakened our consciousness to the fullest degree, if I did it right now, maybe I would just turn into pure light. Right? You would see the Christ, But we're just talking about awakening the consciousness here and now, meaning remember yourself, remember where you are. Be alert and vigilant of what thoughts and feelings are you having, your sentiments, your emotions, your dreams, any confusions that you might have, right? Be aware, here and now, because that's where the path begins. The path doesn't begin, or walking the path doesn't begin in the mind and saying, I'm going to walk this path, I'm going to dissolve my egos, I'm going to transmute my energy. The path always begins now. Just here and now. If we don't start here and now, we can't do anything, basically. So to be awake and aware in this moment. And in order to learn how to listen, we have to know how to be present, right? Here and now. Otherwise, we begin escaping into our own psychological city, or as we saw last week, right? Our own psychological house. But when we say psychological house, that's actually where we want to live. Internally, psychologically, we would like to get our house in order, sit down on our sofa, and be ready to listen. However, most of us are not living in our home. This morning, we've already gone out into our psychological street, watching entertainment and going for street food, or, we've come to this home here, but we've not come home internally in order to receive some teaching. Maybe we were very awakened in the last group, but we have to self-reflect. These weekly groups are a very good opportunity to reflect back on the week. How conscious was I during the week? How much meditation or practices did I do? How much did I self-remember? Did I have a very unconscious week? And you come back here, and this group helps to solidify and strengthen this spirit, this awakened consciousness, right? I'm back here into these teachings, and I can reflect. You get a sense of how well have I done? Have I just been sleeping all week? And we're not judging ourselves, but we have to see honestly, right? So in order to listen, it requires a receptive mind, a passive mind. Not so much a very active mind. The mind might be active on the surface, but we have to learn how to be receptive, passive. Not moving, not trying to think so much, but just receive the pure reality of what we are perceiving, what we are sensing, or what we are receiving through the senses. So we have to remember ourselves, right? Not to forget ourselves. And in basic terms, we also have to make effort every day, many times a day, to relax the body as many times as we can. This is more obvious when we are having a bad day or we are very stressed. We need to make effort to relax, right? Relax, I'm stressed. However, we don't also perceive that when we are not remembering ourselves, when we are, let's say, too happy, when we are on our phone and looking at entertainment so much, this is also a type of stress. We have to relax the mind in a profound way. And then we can remember ourselves more. So, of course, we make many mistakes, many errors, because we forget ourselves. We forget our being. If we remembered ourselves all the time, our life would change very fast. So in order to know how to listen, we also have to be extremely aware. And remember that we have 3 brains. We have a brain in the head, intellectual. We have a brain in the heart, that's the emotional. And we also have a brain, a motor instinctive brain, which is the whole physical body, which also relates to sex. And that's confirmed by modern scientists today, that there are so many neurons in the brain, neurons which are literally thinking. We have many neurons in the heart, and also more neurons actually I think the most neurons are in the stomach, something like that. I don't know the exact number, but it shows and it's proved that the whole body is a thinking machine. And many people only think in terms of developing the intellect, but really we have 3 brains, which is really significant when we think in terms of balancing ourselves and purifying our internal reality. So in order to know how to listen, we have to have attention at the same time of our intellect, emotions, our motor instinctive sexual brain. And be aware of all those three at the same time. If a person is only vigilant and aware emotionally, okay, he starts to receive certain emotions. If a person is awake and vigilant in the intellect, okay, he receives certain intellectual, rational, reasoning, understanding. If a person is awake with his body, physical body, then gets a little bit of instinctive understanding. But if you're awake in all three, there's a certain new type of balanced knowledge which is much more closer to the truth. So the law of the pendulum relates to this duality that we've been seeing, the duality of life in everything. This law relates to absolutely everything. So, for example, when there is a rise, there is also a fall. This applies physically, spiritually, in society, everything. When a great civilization rises, the civilization will also fall, eventually. Hitler, for example, he rose very fast with huge ego, and he fell very fast too. So there is morning and there is night. And we have to understand this in terms of our life, astrologically too. Other planets where people live in other humanities, maybe they have two suns. Some planets never have a nighttime. That reflects their humanity's state of consciousness. But us, we have a perfect 12-hour day, 12-hour night, right? And that points to our duality and this perfect duality that we have. So when something increases, there is also a decrease. Humanity right now is increasing really fast. It's going to decrease very fast too, at some point. It won't just continue. Everything evolves, and also everything devolves. What do you all think? Do you think humanity is evolving?
Yes.
Yes? Or is it devolving?
Evolving. So much
So much, so much devil, so much ego, right?
Yeah, I think we're on the rise of evolving, slowly devolving.
On the rise of evolving and slowly devolving.
It's
Like a
evolving.
circle.
Wherever you go, you could always see it's more bad than good.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
When you're in a place and you see all people, you barely see good, and it's always there's something wrong.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe also we're seeing our own darkness projected too. But I agree that, yeah, usually if we look at humanity as a whole, and we're very honest, it's very negative. On a whole, on a greater whole, right? Pollution, what have we done to the planet? Wars, when is World War III coming? Everyone is always wondering. Most 90% of the entertainment that people watch is just trash, you know? It's not helping anyone. We're deeply asleep, right? That's why we have the 97% unconsciousness, 97% darkness, 97% black magic. It's black magicians that rule the world today. If divinity wants to come through, masters from the White Lodge, they're powerful beings, but they don't have that much power because we don't allow them to, as humanity, right? But it's also true, even though it is mostly devolving, it's also a sign of, because, right, there's the pendulum, and I think you said it correctly, that Yeah, we are totally devolving right now. However, that pendulum is going to go to evolving again. And there is a certain opportunity amidst all the darkness in order to understand all this in a deep way and, understand all the teachings here of what we want to achieve in terms of awakening consciousness. And in our personal lives, when we have joy, when we have happiness, and I'm not talking about true happiness. In a sense, we could say that the goal of Gnosis, the high goal, is happiness, but true, lasting, permanent happiness, right? So when we have joy or happiness, seeking pleasure, right, there's sorrow at some point. Even if we have a very happy life with our family, with our partner, they'll die at some point. There's going to be a lot of sorrow that's going to be difficult, right? And when there's a lot of hope, sometimes it turns to desperation. When we are triumphing, when we are triumphing in business, in career, in spiritual practices, eventually, no matter how good we are feeling, there's going to be some failure, or not particularly failure, but we're not feeling any progress. Now, if you're more awakened and you are doing a lot of efforts, then generally you experience this side more because you have more positive energy, right? And you are making more good efforts depending on the person's karma, right? Or they have more dharma. But generally, no one escapes this, not even masters, that everyone is subject to this law of the pendulum. At some point, we will still experience this. We can't avoid it. This is unavoidable because it's part of our nature. When we have passion, we'll have some misery at some point. When there is optimism, there'll be some pessimism. When we have profit, we'll have loss. So, although there's this pendulum, what we want to understand and reflect on here is, what is the center of the pendulum? How could we gain some kind of control, but again, not full control because we can't escape this fully, but how can we live in a state of consciousness that is not being swung from left to right all the time? So the center of the pendulum is found within ourselves, not these outward manifestations. The center of the pendulum is found within ourselves, and it's there that we must directly discover and experience what is real, what is the truth. All of this, it's not real, it's not the truth, it's just temporary manifestations on the surface of our life, on the surface of reality. So here's an interesting image by an artist called Geoffrey Boschart. He did 12 paintings of the 12 zodiac signs. Today, when we hear about the zodiac, we see a lot of shallow and superficial horoscopes that are kind of people just making money and so basically lying to people, but not fully lying. They do base their knowledge on certain studies of astronomy, but generally they're a bit shallow, right? They're just for a bit of fun. But in the depths, the system of the zodiac is an ancient and legitimate science of study in order to know ourselves. So This one, do you know which one this relates to? All of them? No.
Oh.
You could say that because it's a very significant one. Yeah, because it has the male and female. But duality. Yes, Gemini, yeah. The twins. And Gemini is ruled by the twins, or the symbol is the twins, the duality. Is anyone here Gemini? No? Yeah. So I show you Gemini because we kind of see the law of the pendulum, the female and the male, the internal reality, the external reality. And of course, you can see the Kundalini here, which is a symbol of the fact that we have to work with this duality which is inside us. So this Gemini and all the signs relate to everyone. I'm pretty sure, because each zodiac sign has a particular body part. For example, Leo is to do with the heart, because the heart is the sun. The sun is the center of the solar system, and the heart is the center of our body and our being. I'm pretty sure the Gemini is related to the arms, right? We have one will that wants to do something, another will that wants to do something else. Our two hands opposing each other. So I show you this Gemini symbol because generally you see this aspect of this struggle between duality in the natives of Gemini. Those people who are born under Gemini are much more prone to this suffering of happiness, sorrow. They have this more of this split personality. Now we all have this. We all have this. However, in terms of Gemini, it's more noticeable. And that soul is going through more of this challenge. In a way, before they were born, they have agreed to experience this duality more intensely. So, for example, maybe a Gemini might be very indecisive. They can't make decisions very well in their life. Or if they commit to something one day, they do something else entirely different the other day and will surprise you. They might be a great friend that's willing to die for you and commit their whole life to you and promise everything to you. The most loyal and trusted friend you've ever had. But then in the next moment, they might be really angry with you and hate you and they're disgusted. And you're like, why? Why? What happened to you? Why are you like that? So you sort of see this opposite in their personality. Again, we all have that. But it's just showing that we have this law of the pendulum inside us. And in the natives of Gemini, you can see it more expressed on the surface. That they might say something in one moment, but the opposite in another moment. A sort of split personality. So, Master Samael Aun Weor, he says this about the law of the pendulum. There exist people who show themselves for a moment to the esoteric work, the Gnostic work. Then, all of a sudden, another I intervenes. Another psychological I, another sense of identity, another ego. Thus, they definitely abandon these studies and allow themselves to be swallowed by life. Right? All of those manifestations of the law of the pendulum, we see that on the surface of life, and we are really swallowed by that when we don't work against ourselves. When we don't work on the ego, we're really swallowed by left and right of the pendulum. So obviously, if one doesn't struggle against life, then one is devoured by life. Very rare are the aspirants, the students, who truly do not allow themselves to be swallowed up by life. The permanent center of gravity cannot exist within us as long as a whole multiplicity of eyes exists inside us. It's normal that not all people, not all of humanity, achieve the realization of our inner being. So this is something we want to reflect on too, the permanent center of gravity. So, in terms of our consciousness and what we are right now, if we look into space and we could think of different planets, each one having a psychological eye, a desire, a dream, whatever you want to call it. Different planets. We might think of ourselves as one person. I am Jean, and I am only one person. But the only thing that keeps you thinking that you are only one person is the fact that you have a physical body. Remove the physical body and look into the internal reality, into the inner world, we will find multiple aspects of ourselves. And in our life here, we see different eyes awakening, taking over. Right now, in a sense, we have a psychological eye that is enjoying this study. But later on, we'll be replaced by a different psychological gravity, right? A certain ego that is to do with different things, right? This ego is concerned with family, with work, right? Maybe this ego is concerned with having fun. Different egos. The permanent center of gravity is something that is permanent. These things turn on and off, like Christmas lights. That's why everybody likes blinking lights in their decorations, fairy lights, because we are like fairy lights. A lot of different lights just blinking on and off. What we want in these studies and these practices is to develop something that is permanent, something that stays aware permanently, continuously, from moment to moment. No matter what egos are happening on the surface, one is always truly aware and present. Something that is permanent, not attached to these different egos. So that's the permanent center of gravity. And it's just like a planet that has different egos, or asteroids, like an asteroid belt. Sure, we have our egos, but the important thing is to remain in our gravity. If this is not here, what happens to the smaller different planets or asteroids? They just scatter. To scatter, right? The legion. To scatter the negative parts of the consciousness and go have chaos. But the permanent center of gravity, the more we maintain this awareness of ourselves, we become organized, more self-aware. We begin to know ourselves. We begin to make choices. Okay. And this is not just a permanent center of gravity, but this eventually turns into our own internal sun. We become what we would call solar men and women. So just as we have a sun in the solar system today, we have to cultivate and develop our internal sun. And it's only through that sun, that light of our awareness, that can help us. Actually, it's taught in Gnosis that the sun today, or the logos of the sun, which is, we could say, a physical manifestation of quite a few aspects of divinity. It relates to the Christ, right? The sun god of the Christ, or Ra, Egyptian god. It also relates to Archangel Michael, or Michael. And the sun, our sun, is conducting an experiment with humanity. One of the last, or the biggest experiments of humanity was to mix all of the races together. And the experiment of humanity, in simple terms, is to create awakened men and women, to create a harvest. Humanity right now is more like different seeds, just lots of different seeds put in the earth. But how many will sprout into truly awakened men and women? Only a few it has created that are like that. Right? Jesus, Buddha, all the different genuine masters. So yes, we know very well, because this is a big internal work, right? We know very well that the realization of the innermost being, one's internal God, to realize God fully, demands continuity of purpose. It demands this permanent center of gravity. Today we might feel purpose to awaken and practice Gnosis, but is it permanent? So therefore, it is not strange that only very few people can attain self-realization, since it's very difficult to find someone with a permanent center of gravity. What is normal in this matter is for someone to become enthusiastic for the esoteric work and then to abandon it, to just leave. People are very interested in different schools. We might go to Rosicrucian schools, we go to Freemasonry schools, might go to Zen Buddhism, Catholicism, Judaism, all of that. But it's normal that people just go from school to school. 1 week here, 1 year there. What's the use of it? It's not necessarily about the schools that we go to, but we need to have a permanent sense of purpose, a permanent center of gravity. So what is strange is for someone to not abandon the work and to reach the goal. So the solution here, or how we deal with this, is to observe and become aware of the law of the pendulum in all aspects of life. Whenever you do a project, you start something new, maybe you date a new person, you meet someone new, you have new friends, you always just have to be aware that there exists the law of the pendulum. It exists in anything. When we do a new project, we're going to feel determined and happy. Okay, be mindful and aware and know that there's going to be a difficult time where you won't like it. When you get married to a new man or wife, there's going to be a lot of happiness, but know that the unhappiness will come. If you know it, if you have the self-knowledge, it doesn't need to be so bad when that time comes. You have wisdom then, right? So we have to be aware of this law of the pendulum in all of our aspects of our life. So happy moments are followed by unhappy moments, and we know that, right? And this is also a way to forgive people too. When people come to us and they are very unhappy, they are angry, we can understand them because now we know about the law of the pendulum. That they are just on the other side of the spectrum, and that We just need to tell them this will pass. All the negative parts of our life, all the difficulties, everything passes, right? So commitment to groups, people, teachings, they're always, usually at some point, internally, egoically, psychologically, it's replaced by disinterest or abandonment. So we have to learn to find the good in the bad and not try to be good and not try to also be bad. People are too concerned about morality or their idea of morality. In all the good things, there's usually something bad. In all of the bad things, usually something good. Right? In virtuous people, very good people, you'll usually find something very wicked, something bad. And in wicked people, in bad people, you'll find good things too, very good things. It's very observable, and it's very interesting to keep that knowledge in mind in your life. I know so many people in my own life that they're really good people, but when you get to know them, there are some bad things. And I know some people who most people would think are very bad. They've done a lot of bad things. But the virtue and the wisdom that they hold inside themselves is really nice. Yeah. It's like when you watch some movies and there's a villain, a bad person, and then you see the backstory and you start to understand that person, right? So when we understand that about ourselves, apply that to ourselves, we see how we don't have to judge ourselves so much. That when we are doing something bad, usually it comes from something of some kind of innocence or goodness in a very obscured way. We just don't understand ourselves. And also when we are trying to be so good and virtuous or something, it relates to something a little bit evil. We're too maybe ambitious, prideful. We care about what others think of us, something like this. Yeah. So when we are aware of this duality in life, really aware, good and evil, of the rhythm of life, ebb and flow, day and night, then we start to acquire this permanent center of gravity, which is also known as the Tao, which you can see in this yin and yang, right? Feminine and masculine. So the Tao isn't exactly this, but it's more about living in the center of this. And also moving within the life, but being in the center. And also to see, right? To see the darkness in the light and the light in the darkness. So from Hermes Trismegistus, a really great and ancient master from the Hermetica, he wrote, addressing most of humanity, you are a circle whose center is everywhere, or many circles, right? And he says, but your circumference, your boundary is nowhere to be found. You're a circle, but there's no line. You just scatter anywhere, right? Where is the circumference? We need to create it. We need to create this awareness permanently. So, going more practically, we can talk about something that Master Samael called the magic circle. Because we're talking here more psychologically. As I said before, imagine you don't have a physical body. That gives you the illusion of being one person. And we just have these manifestations outside of us that we go between all of the time. So what we want is the magic circle. Master Samael, he says, we must live within a closed magical circle from where we can observe the flow of opposites, the flow of material world, external life. So we have a mantra, a new mantra here, something that you can use at home. I'm going to give 2 mantras. This mantra relates to this sign here. We won't talk about this sign right now because there is so much about this sign, but this is a very powerful sign. Master Samael says here, and you can see here, I'll give a little bit. We have the caduceus, the rod of Mercury, showing the transmuted energy upwards. This is a man, like this, ascended man, and showing that the energy is transmuted. It's not down here like a tail. Right? And as you already know, this is the ascending man, right? Going upwards. This is a sword showing that the man has wields this sacred power of nature and can use it to defend himself. This cup here is not upside down but upright, showing that one holds the sexual energy and does not spill the sexual energy. Holds it. It's also known as the elixir of life, or the elixir of youth, or the fountain of youth. You have this symbol here, relates to Jupiter. Jupiter relates to the father of gods. This is the symbol of Mars, Samael, which is the Martian force. And you have here Tetragrammaton, which relates to the mantra here. It's a very powerful symbol. There are some people, for example, my friend knew someone a woman who was very too interested in things like witchcraft, black magic, things like that. And she came into his house, and he had this in his house here, framed. Better to have this framed in your house with glass, because real glass has a certain quartz crystal that brings it out, not just physically but in the astral. Anyway, she saw this and she didn't feel comfortable around it because of the things that she has related her soul to internally, certain dark practices. And when she sees this, she hates it. She couldn't stay in that room for very long, is what my friend said. And she was asking about it. What is it? Can she put it away? Put it somewhere else? So this is very powerful and very good to have on your altar too. So as Master Samael says here, with the eyes of the spirit always open, showing that the light is always watching. The columns of angels and demons tremble. Such a symbol makes the tenebrous ones flee, horrified. It makes the evil ones to fly away, horrified. I've printed one out for each of you. If you would like to take it home, if you would like. 7, perfect. If you can frame it.
That's 7.
Yes. Yeah. If you can frame it, it's better. And if you can find real glass too, it's better as well. If you feel comfortable just having it in your house, that's okay. But some people think of this as bad. Either sometimes they see the pentagram and they think witchcraft or something, or also that person might have a lot of negativity inside them, and they look at it and think, "Oh, what's that? What is that? It's something." You can observe them how negative their reaction is towards it. So maybe if you have a sacred space, a small space, but I'll send this image too. You can print it smaller if you like, but generally it's very powerful and it's very good to have in your house or wherever you can. So there's a mantra that relates to this. It relates to invoking this within ourselves too. I've done this mantra. There's two mantras. I've done both of these mantras that you'll see. I'll share an experience actually. In the astral, I begin in a dream. I'm asleep. But eventually, I'm walking down a road in this dream, but then my consciousness becomes awake, and the dream starts to dissolve, and I go down another road and wondering where I am. I'm in a beautiful place. It's sunny, there's beautiful buildings around me, and I'm going down a road. Now, when your consciousness begins to awake, it's normal that we might be attacked. Sometimes we're attacked physically, not physically by people like they want to punch us, but just psychologically. For example, if you have a big group of friends and you start to awaken your consciousness, well, it's not normal that they would, unless they're true friends, it's not normal that they would be very supportive of you. You know, sometimes when we change, our external friends change too, right? So my point is, when we really start to awaken the consciousness, in the astral, sometimes, you know, what does the ego like? What does it thrive off? It thrives off our light that it's stolen from us, right? And in the same way, there are certain, we'll just call them black magicians. That's what we call them in Gnosis. They might try to attack us or something like that. Right? Usually it's just our own ego first, but if we truly awaken, then yeah, we might be tested sometimes if we don't have a permanent center of gravity. If we have a permanent center of gravity, meaning we're always with God, we don't get attacked because we remember ourselves. But when we fall into unconsciousness, then yeah. Anyway, in this experience, in this beautiful place that I'm in, blue sky, it's sunny, I'm walking down a street, and at the end of it, I see this man. He's like 8 foot tall, and he's got this gray suit on, and he's bald, no hair, and his skin is like gray. And immediately he has this power and looks at me in the eye. I feel fear. This was many years ago, and I'm scared now. Like, I don't want to be near this guy. That fear, of course, is what brings me to him. Right? I've had experiences recently where, you know, I see scary things, but honestly, I don't have fear of like monsters and scary things and black magicians anymore so much. But in this experience many years ago, I was very afraid. I was very scared, and I couldn't get away. I tried to get up and fly and go away, but I couldn't. I'm going towards this really just a very powerful black magician that has control over me, and I couldn't do anything. And I'm going closer and closer to him, and I don't know what he's going to do, but he's just coming at me, and I'm going to him. And as I go to him, his whole aura becomes powerful, like electric, and the sky starts to go dark, and it's like he's bringing me to this kind of darkness. When I'm about this distance, I do the mantra that we're going to do now. In this specific one, Helion, Melion, Tetragrammaton. As I do it, I'm in this darkness being attacked, about to be attacked, and he's about to get me. Around me just opens, another world or dimension opens, where I begin to see, it's like, how to describe it? Have you seen, what's the Marvel super? Yes, Doctor Strange. And sometimes they're in a dimension where they're like jumping from like platform to platform in a void. And it was kind of like that. And I saw another world which opened up that I could go to because of this mantra. And it was in a beautiful green, kind of like a Scottish meadows, you know, Norwegian kind of beautiful land. And once I finished the mantra, I had my feet on this beautiful grass, and it was sunny, and I was totally free, and I was happy. And he wasn't there. it totally saved me in that experience. So it's a very powerful mantra. I'm going to continue showing you. For this one first, certain mantra here. This one generally, you can do anytime you want, anytime you need protection. Maybe you're going through a lot of negativity. Maybe even you're having a fight with someone externally or anything. This one, you can just say it like this. And you can sing it too. Of course, if we're outside with people, it's better to do it internally, or you can whisper it too, or you can say it out loud. Klim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopihana Vayabhaya Swaha. Like that. Any way you want. Klim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopihana Vayabhaya Swaha. There is a certain movement that you can do alongside it. It's like this. Before practices too, you can do the Egyptian pose. This protects you. The right hand should be over this. Sometimes you might see pharaohs. You always see the pharaoh with the right hand over this. And it's like this. We have the recording, so you'll be able to see it back. Klim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopihana Vayabhaya Swaha. So I'll do it this way. So I'm going like this. Left foot stays still, and I go out and do the sign of the star. Because when we fall and we have so much ego, sometimes clairvoyantly you can see certain marks on the body. Sometimes, in Christian terms, you would call it the marks of the devil, things like this. This is really to help us to change the aura, change everything. And it's like a blessing. In the same way we do the sign of the cross, but something more powerful, more deeper, and connects us to the angels and masters. You see here certain signs all related to all the archangels, the 7 archangels. So it's like this. Klim Krishnaya Govindaya, you see here? It's going like this, and then making the star. Govindaya, Gopihana, Vayavaya. And it's going up. I'm raising the energy up, you see. Vayavaya Swaha, you see. So you're getting all your energy, and it's like this. Actually, if you're having a lot of nightmares, or you want to experience astral projection, or you don't want to be attacked while sleeping, you can also just sleep in bed like this. Or sometimes if you just look at, if you are experiencing something negative, or you're just in the astral body like this, nothing can attack you. Because people, they hate this. They don't like seeing this. They want to see the hanged man, or they just want to see a man like this, or just sleeping, But this means, it's like, I think is it Brazil? Or Jesus is like this, right? The statue? Yeah, it has a certain meaning. So, yes. This also relates to, it's a peace symbol, but it also relates to the Trinity, but also relates to the star too. You see that in certain art, right? So yes, you don't have to do that, but if you are having certain practices at home, you can do it. Yeah. Some schools, they'll teach, you don't have to do it like this. You can do it more simple, like if you're sitting down, you might just do like this. And your arms already, this is the feet already, you see. So Klim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopihana Vayavaya Swaha. Yeah. Just to make the star of the pentagram. And this is a very powerful one. I've done it for many years now. Almost every time before I go to sleep. This is the one that I just told you about in the astral. Helion, melion, tetragrammaton. While you do this, And you should do it before sleeping, particularly, because when we go to sleep, our consciousness leaves the body, right? And we can, well, if we don't have any consciousness in our room, in our body, and the energy of where we are, we should do at least something before we sleep. It's going to help us. So before we go to sleep, so that we are not attacked, we don't experience something negative while we sleep, we do this mantra. Helion, melion, tetragrammaton. While we do it, you visualize in your mind's eye a circle of fire in your room. So let's say this is my bedroom here. I'm going to sleep. Whether you can do it lying down too while you're sleeping. I'm going to do the mantra, and at the same time, I'm going to visualize a fire around my space, a circle of fire. Helion, melion, tetragrammaton. So that has created a circle of protection. Okay, so it's very powerful before you sleep. Because some people with astral projection, sometimes they think about fear, they have some negative experience. Just rely on this. Just do this before sleep and have faith that you're protected. You can also visualize white light if you want while you do it. It doesn't have to be fire. You can visualize an orb around you. Right. I usually do fire, and you don't have to just do a circle of fire. You can do above you, below you. However, we shouldn't be too strict with our imagination. Our imagination is related to our soul, our feminine principle, the power of our divine mother. We all have an internal feminine principle, divine mother, kundalini. You know, when a man and woman is in a couple, right? And the man is very controlling to the woman, and he's very angry and strict. It shows that this is a negative thing about, that's not good. A man shouldn't control the woman. A woman should be free, right? Because the woman represents this art and this imagination and this creativity, this creative energy. Our creative energy comes from our sexual energy. Your plant love. I'll get it. Do any of you have aloe vera? Aloe vera plant? It's very good for protection too. Aloe vera.
Where are we going to place it? Inside the room? Or
Aloe vera? Anywhere that you feel, in a room, on an altar, in your bedroom. Yeah, and there's a certain prayer with it. If this is the aloe vera, you say the prayer, and then you bless the elemental of the aloe vera. If you have clairvoyance, you can see it's like a fairy that lives in the aloe vera plant. And you do the prayer, and then you bless it, in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So talking about blessing too, as you all know, right, there's the sign of the cross, in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. But what does that create when we do in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit? People are doing this unconsciously because they've been told to do it that way. Right? But what is it doing? This is a person. Right? Name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Right? The Antichrist. Upside down cross. The original way is in the name of the Father, and of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. The Son should be down here, because then this creates the cross. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Some traditions today still do it, but in the name of the Father, the heavens, and of the Son, down below. But it creates a connection. So it's the brain and sex connecting the heart, which is the infinity symbol here. And then you have the Holy Spirit, the Divine Mother, and which connects us to the horizontal line of life, or working with our physical body. But yeah, that's the original way. Name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Some schools, they also do name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit also relates to the sexual energy. But yeah, this is the original way, name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Gnosis, before we do maybe certain elemental magic with the aloe vera we just talked about. Also you do name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, in the name of the most holy tetragrammaton, in the name of this. And you do that also, you can also do that with the elemental of the plant, name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, name of the most holy tetragrammaton. Yeah. We'll look more into elemental magic. Okay, so 2 mantras. I'll send the slides in the group. So before we get on to a practice, another mantra to help, not so much in meditation, but you can do it as meditation. But someone asked whether when we are angry, can we do a practice in that moment? And I said that it's better to relax and do the practice later, right? To self-reflect, observe, comprehend the ego. But there is a mantra that you can use when you are in anger, you are having temptations of lust, you are having ego, you're frustrated, you're overthinking as well. You can't stop thinking about something. You're too emotional. You're being caught into this world here. And we want to cross over, right? We want to cross over into here. We don't want to be in frustrations, overthinking, anger, lust, all of these things of the external world. So there's a mantra to help us in those moments. So we are still within the pendulum, outside of our center of gravity, when we are full of objections, opinions, disgusts, complaints. The mind becomes divided and continues to battle within ourselves. When we have dreams of war, of fighting, it shows that we have these egos of fighting, and we are not in our center inside us. We're too identified with arguments and fighting. So this is how to tell, just some ways how to tell when we are not in our center of gravity. That when we are full of objections. What are objections? It's when it's okay not to agree with something, but when you are possessed by those opinions and disagreements. For example, if someone calls you prideful, or you have a lot of pride, and you start to object to it, or maybe you see that you have a lot of lust, but you start to object, you start to say, oh, I don't have that, and you begin to you're in self-consideration, sort of selfish thoughts. So when we're having objections, opinions, and discuss, we're complaining a lot, we're not in our center of gravity. So it's important not to make objections to the ego. When we start to see ourselves, it's very easy to object to the ego. To resist it, to say that it doesn't exist, or it's just there because we start to justify it. So we do it due to fear, self-consideration, pride, etc. So this gives rise to violence, pride, depression, nervousness, anger, hatred, bitterness, things like this. So when we are experiencing things like this, we're just not in our center of our being. We're totally in the ego, too much. And especially when we start to feel violent, we start to feel angry, prideful. Maybe we're just a bit depressed, right? We feel maybe nervous, anger, hatred, all of these things that we suffer from. So there's a mantra to make an effort to triumph and to get some strength against anger, lust, hate, all of these negative things. especially during the moment of those difficult temptations and circumstances. It's just gate. It's like this. Gate. It's in that way, a bit higher and then lower. Gate. Of course, if we're having a problem with someone else, maybe we just say it quietly. Maybe we go to the bathroom. We go somewhere peaceful. We feel anger. We want to say something bad. We just go somewhere. We just do a quick practice and just maybe mentally, gate, breathe and wait, and then it will pass, and we get some control over it. Gate, deriving from the ancient language of Sanskrit, it relates to the teachings of Buddha, the master Buddha Shakyamuni. We could say it means liberation. Liberation. It actually comes from the Heart Sutra of the Buddha. So we could say that Master Jesus' main prayer is the Our Father, the Pater Noster, right? The equivalent of that is the Heart Sutra, which is Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasam Gate, Bodhi Swaha. Which basically means, in one translation, liberate, or liberation, freedom. Freedom to the other side of the reality, to the great reality. Basically this. Freedom, bring me to the light, bring me to the other side of the ocean of, bring me beyond this threshold that is so difficult to get to, and I'm so stuck here. So you can do this as a meditation in your own time. We won't do it today, but Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhi Swaha. Like that. Something like that. You can do it in your own way too. But in terms of daily life, when we're going about our day and things are difficult, you can do this mentally. Gate, Gate. Okay? Just something you can use. Okay, we go on to a practice. The runes, an ancient language which is coming from the Nordic tradition, relates to Norway. Most people would relate it to the Nordic tradition or the Vikings. However, that ancient language is much more ancient than that. It comes from another race of humanity, even before the Atlanteans. So we have this race, our current race now, which is the Aryan race. Before us was the Atlantean race, and there are other races before that too. We're going to have a class on the Gnostic understanding of the real human history, which is totally against and totally different to the traditional modern science view that we just come from apes. It's just not true. We have such a much more interesting and rich and spiritual history. Yeah. But yeah, many runes, but this is the first rune I learned, and I really love this rune. This is generally for the morning, to give us energy and to receive the energies of the sun, the energies of the Christ. We're living in a great country to do this practice. If you have an outdoor space, and in the morning at the sunrise, when the sun is here, there's certain energies when there is sunrise, and there's no clouds, and you face the palm of the hands to the sun, and this is to receive the rays of the sun, the rays of the Christ, and it gives you a lot of energy. I gave this I gave this practice to my mother, who works a lot. She's in her 60s now, and she works full time. She works too much. I tell her not to work too much, but she loves to work. And she always brings coffee with her, and in order to get more energy or something. But I gave her this practice. We did it together for a while, and she started doing it every day before work. And she swears wholeheartedly that this gives her energy for the whole day. She's aware, she feels more balanced, she's happy, she doesn't get tired, because she does this first thing in the morning before she does her own meditations and prayers. She's very Catholic. But she does this all the time, and she has an outdoor space. She lives in the countryside, so it's great. She really goes outside and does this in nature. The runes are the best place to do the runes is in nature. So I'm going to show you this specific rune, which has certain mantras. So stand and face the sun at sunrise, but we can do this anytime too. At least when it's daytime, at least. Cross your arms over your chest, as we've just seen in the Egyptian style. If you do this during the day, you can just face the sun, wherever the sun is right now. So the sun here right now should be this side. So we'll all be doing this in a minute. And today we won't go into the steps of meditation. We'll just go straight into meditation after we've done the rune. So as you're doing like this, you pray first. Pray deeply with faith to the Christ, to the Son Christ, to the Logos, to receive prayer doesn't need to be, sometimes prayer can be mechanical if it is, we remember something, we recall something. So you can just do your own prayer, right? And to ask for power, to ask for strength, to awaken our consciousness. Once you get into that sentiment, you don't need to do so much prayer, because there is a prayer here already. Once you've been closing your eyes and you're ready to do it, before you do the certain mantra, the rune, you say, "Marvelous force of love, awaken my sacred fires so that my consciousness will awaken." Then you put your arms out to the sun, say, like this. Left is up a bit and like this. So it makes a F, you see, F shape. It's like that. Fa, fe, fi, fo, fu. And you put you generally should, it's not so important, but you should put the heels of your heels together. Because there's a certain electricity, certain energy that's coming from our feet and our whole legs and our body. This is actually a form of pranayama. So if you're struggling or you are wanting to transmute your sexual energy, this is very powerful too. It's a form of pranayama and really a powerful way to transmute the energy. If you can do it in nature, and you can have your shoes and socks off and just barefoot in the soil, it's better as well. So just like that. Once you've done fa, fe, fi, fo, fu, go back down and repeat. Marvelous force of love, revive my sacred fires so that my consciousness will awaken. Fa, continue. You can do it 3 times, 7 times, or as many times as you like. Okay? This is relating to the chakras, as you know. Right? Fa, the lungs. Fe, fi, the pineal gland. and the pituitary. 4, the heart, and then oo, is the solar plexus. We're already standing, and this is very active. There's no or s, but we have all of these. Just a short video about the law of the pendulum, just to summarize it for us here. It kind of puts it all together in a very beautiful way.
The movement of the pendulum is profoundly significant.
So we'll do the Rune FA. After that, I won't give any instruction for meditation. We'll just go into meditation. Okay? We'll use a timer. It has this sound at the beginning. It has a bell every 5 minutes. And when you hear it, it's a reminder. When you hear it and you're in meditation, oh, did I sleep? Did I go somewhere off in a dream? Come back to reality. So the timer, the bell every 5 minutes is a reminder to come back to reality. Maybe we went off into, one of these dreams. So the bell that you hear is just come back into the center. Okay? So we'll do the rune. You just repeat after me. Maybe we'll do it 3 times, something like that. And then we'll just sit down wherever you like. Did I tell you about what Zen Buddhist teachers do to their students about hitting them? No. For Zen Buddhist students, when they're in the monastery or they're just meditating, the Zen master will sometimes get a stick and try to catch them by surprise and hit them. And if they were surprised, then they weren't in Zen. They weren't in the Tao. They weren't aware. Because really, when you're truly aware, nothing can startle you. You won't be scared or surprised. So sometimes people find in this kind of meditation, when the bell, and they hear the bell, it means that we were sleeping, right? We weren't present. So, yeah. Okay. So facing this way, just find a space anywhere. I'll go to the front. You'll just repeat after me. You all have space? Try. Yeah, maybe spread out a little bit. Okay, great. And we can practice the other things too if you like. You don't have to do it all usually, but we can practice these as well. Name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. And you can try this one. Klim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopihana Vaya Swaha. You can put your heels together if it's comfortable. If it's not very comfortable, it doesn't matter. Okay. Closing the eyes, connecting to the Christ, to the Son, to receive energy, to awaken the consciousness. And repeat after me. Marvelous force of love. Revive my sacred fires. So that my consciousness will awaken. Putting the 2 hands above, left above a little bit. Visualizing the sun, the light coming through the hands and into the body, and also into our consciousness to awaken it with light. And beginning. hands back down. Marvelous force of love,
Marvelous force of love.
revive my sacred fires,
Revive my sacred fires,
so that my consciousness will awaken.
so that my consciousness will awaken.
Going up. Marvelous force of love,
Marvelous force of love.
revive my sacred fires,
Revive my sacred fires,
so that my consciousness will awaken.
so that my consciousness will awaken.
Marvelous force of love,
Marvelous force of love.
revive my sacred fires,
Revive my sacred fires,
so that my consciousness will awaken.
so that my consciousness will awaken.
And one more time, the meditation. Marvelous force of love,
Marvelous force of love.
revive my sacred fires,
Revive my sacred fires,
so that my consciousness will awaken.
so that my consciousness will awaken.
Going into meditation, finding your center and staying in the center.